The highly anticipated collaboration between JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown is finally here, and they have done a fantastic job of branding their content to directly cater towards their fans and also be as off-putting as they possibly can be towards any outsiders as well as that. And honestly, I think they may have even done as best of a job as they possibly could to put off the actual core fans that will be listening to this album anyway. They've done such a bizarre job of branding this, titling the album, the actual style of the music that's coming from this album as well. It's been quite a roller coaster of a release, I must say, and it seems as though that the actual core fan base is eating this up. So I guess they've done what they set out to do? Yeah? On top of that, you've got the bizarre merch that they've been dropping as well. The Radio Music t-shirt, the JPEGMAFIA Has Blocked You Twitter t-shirt. Look, this has a total air of cringe to it, and I will admit that it is incredibly cringe, while also admitting that I do find it quite funny that they've been releasing this type of merch, to be honest with you. I don't want to find it funny, but I have been finding it funny that they've been doing this. Yeah, it's very self-aware, they know what they're doing, they're poking fun at the actual people that are going to be consuming this music, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I think most people have a good enough sense of humour to just kind of take it within their stride and just accept that they are the joke, they are the butt of the joke, while also consuming the music. And regardless of all of that though, the actual music is the important thing here. And I will say, I was certainly not anticipating this album once I'd heard the first couple of singles from this album. In fact, I might even go as far as saying that these are two of the weakest tracks on the whole thing, which is good, which is very good. But I will go into why I think they are some of the weakest tracks in a second. But I will say that I think this album is designed to be incredibly polarizing, and regardless of my opinion of it, I think it's pretty clear to see that not many people are going to come out of this loving it, but at the same time there are going to be people who absolutely sweep this type of thing up. I don't even know how to review an album like this, really. I feel like I kind of like it, but I also kind of hate it at the same time. It's a very weird album, and I think Stockholm Syndrome grabbed me by the balls with this album, because keep listening to it again and again, I was kind of just happy to go along with what the hell they were doing on this thing. And I'm not even sure if I'd call it good music, but I will say I bizarrely did take something out of this album and ended up enjoying it. Right, okay, Lean Beef Patty starts things off though. Not really keen on this one. I feel like the screeching vocal sample, I mean, this is the immediate first track. I think they're immediately trying to tell you that, look, this ain't gonna be for everyone straight off the bat. And I do think that that gets a little bit irritating. However, once the track progresses into the sort of drum and bass breakdown, I think that part sounds excellent, by the way. Absolutely love that section. And then Danny Brown's verse comes along, and he just sounds like he's not even like been mixed properly. It sounds so weird, and this happens quite a lot with Danny's vocals, particularly on this album. I don't know if it's just the way that they've tried to make this album quite ugly sounding, so it's an intentional on their part, which it probably is, I would say, but it feels a little weird to me that it is Danny's verses particularly that end up sounding quite like gravelly and grainy and strange. I'm not trying to say that, you know, Peggy did this on purpose to throw him under the bus. I'm not going as far as saying that, but I do kind of want to point out that it is a little odd that it is his verses more often than not that sound quite odd. The very typical Peggy bars come through on this track, and most of this album too. I went through a lot of the bars with LP last year. When was it, last year or the year before? Whenever that album came out. And yeah, I'm not going to go through them all again. I do find a lot of his writing a little irritating and quite cringe, to be honest, considering he's in his 30s and he writes the bars that he does. I know a lot of people don't seem to agree with me on that, but maybe when you grow up a little bit, you'll see why. But no, I'm not really that keen on his writing style. He sounds good a lot on a lot of these tracks though. So I'm at least appreciative of how he's sounding, and I think honestly the lyrics take a back seat with this album anyway. I don't think anyone's going to be digging deep into a lot of these lines, less so than they are just going to be consuming the kind of chaotic energy that the album brings. I think that's the more important part. It's like consuming trap music in that sense. You're not really there for the lyrics. You do have the title track, which has that clapping beat, and I will say, is that what I think it is, that clapping? Are they clapping cheeks? Am I hearing some clapping cheeks on this track? I really don't know, but I don't know if I do want to know anyway. As the album progresses though, I will say that you do start to get some really nice melodic moments that kind of feel like melodic moments. They are sort of squashed in the manic style of the production, but you know, Kingdom Hearts Key, sorry, is a track that I think sounds really lovely. They opt for a very Red Veil sounding instrumental, and then of course Red Veil comes in at the end with his own verse, and he sounds really nice on this one. It's weird to hit these calmer moments because there still is that air of delusion coming through in the beat of like, kind of like at any moment you could just hit this frantic section that just bursts out of nowhere. But actually no, they do keep the reins, they keep reined in a little bit and do start to give us these types of tracks. Orange Juice Jones being another example of that. It's kind of funny though that on this track it does sound like it's a calmer moment, but then Danny Brown's voice totally cuts through the atmosphere completely and he brings his chaotic style to the track, and it just does kind of make you laugh a little bit. Jack Harlow Combo Meal, gotta be the best example of that though. I mean, god damn, the intro is beautiful, it sounds gorgeous, and then Danny Brown comes yapping through and it's just like, what the hell, man? You kind of just go along with it anyway though. You gotta love Danny Brown style. Run the Jewels is a total shot of caffeine right into the veins, man. This track is an absolute hype manic sensation. And then you've got Fentanyl Tester, which is a track that is easily my favorite on the whole thing. Once again, the drum and bass coming through, that shit sounds superb. Like, I'm a bit of a sucker for drum and bass, particularly combined with like hip hop and stuff. I think there's a route down into the future where this becomes more of the norm. They Hate Change. Check out They Hate Change. They are a really good hip hop duo that are doing that style of music so well right now. And this track reminds me of that. And it is pretty much as good as anything They Hate Change would do as well. I think this is a really, really great moment on the album. And then if it weren't for that section being fantastic, then at the end you get the Milkshake sample, which is just absolutely baffling. I don't know how they would have cleared that, to be honest. I know Danny Brown was talking about how he like made absolutely no money from Atrocity Exhibition because of all the samples. Maybe he's just saying, if I didn't make money from that, let's just keep going and let's continue to make no money and just sample Milkshake by Keyless, because that's going to cost a lot. Burfict as well has a really creative instrumental attached to it, one of the better produced tracks, and then you've got that great line from Danny Brown which makes me laugh, where he's like, he's acting like I know who he is, but who are you, which I found quite funny. The way he delivers that is really good. And then the final track on the album too is just this expansive explosion of weirdness coming together with a really like nicely put together beat. Like when it just kind of drops down back to the beat and Danny is riding on it, he sounds fantastic on that part. Really, really catchy stuff. And yeah, overall, it's an absolute roller coaster of a mess, this album. Like, the mixing at times is so weirdly put together. The style of beats that they're rapping over is totally way off kilter and way beyond what you'd expect any rapper to rap over. But at the end of the day, these two are quite oddballs within the rap world, the hip hop world. And it shouldn't be too surprising that they came together and pushed the boundaries as much as they did, to the point where I think even core fans of both artists might have a bit of a struggle with this album. But I gotta say, the Stockholm Syndrome did kick me hard with this one. The more I went back to it, the more I started to really appreciate what they were doing, and I kind of got some enjoyment out of it. It's not perfect and it's certainly flawed in places, but I do think it's a decent album. I'm going to go 6 out of 10. Really hard album to score, because I think on any given day my opinion on certain tracks could fluctuate, to be honest with you. But yeah, I got something out of this album, and I've got to be honest, and I always am honest to the audience. And yeah, it is quite an odd one, but hey, scaring the hoes, they certainly did do that. Thank you for watching the review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you agree with me. Hopefully you can subscribe as well, because I do many videos on this channel about music all the time. Please let me know your thoughts. Please check out my Patreon as well and consider supporting me over on there. Do tell me what you think in the comments, what I should review next. Have a good day and goodbye.